Alright, Rockers, Turbo, back with you here inside the Asylum. I promised you guys we'd be getting back to interviews. It took me some time to do so, and this week I'm very happy to be joined by the lead singer of one of the newest bands. Well, not that new, but we'll get into that in just a little bit. In the world of rock and metal, lead singer for All Hail the Yeti, Connor Garritty, on the phone with me right now here inside the Asylum. Connor, how are you, man?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you for taking the time to join me here inside the Asylum and talk about All Hail the Yeti and your upcoming album, Streams from a Black Wilderness, coming out on April 8th, courtesy of Minus Head Records.
No problem, man. It's my pleasure.
Cool, man. Now, I want to go back a little bit because, trying to keep up with new bands nowadays, whether you're a fan or in the industry as I am, or in my case both, it's hard to keep up with, bands that are coming out and when they're coming out. And, you guys have been around since 2006, and the thing I find interesting is, well, you guys come out of Hollywood, and it's safe to say that when you think Hollywood and you think rock and metal, you kind of want to go back to the days of Motley Crue and so on in the 80s. How is the scene for you guys when you guys were getting started with All Hail the Yeti?
Obviously that the stigma of the Hollywood rock, the Hollywood trash metal, like that kind of a thing it's always here and it's always going to be a stigma that goes with it, but when we started, it was something that, we just wanted to do for ourselves and just do something fun and something different that wasn't the same as everybody else. And so we just we didn't really pay attention to what everyone else was doing, and that was a big thing for us to keep our head kind of to the ground and just focus on the songs we were writing. And, we were the two of us that started the band. We were in two different bands at the time, and we were just kind of just doing it for, just for some fun, and it just kind of turned into something a lot more than that. And then we decided that we wanted to take it a lot more seriously, and this kind of snowball effect happened, and people started showing up to our shows, and more of the time and talking about us, and it just kind of turned into something a lot bigger than we initially had planned, but it's been really good. And I think that the Hollywood and rock and roll and heavy metal kind of go hand in hand. So people come here from all over the world to see music and to hear music, and it's weird because there's a lot of jaded people here and they expect a lot more, but also a lot of people just want to have a good time and rock, and so that kind of helped us a lot because that's what we were doing. We weren't focused on trying to beat somebody. We just were having a good time and playing what we wanted to play. And I think that rubbed off on on our stage show and towards our fans too.
Well, yeah, just LA in the Hollywood area, then and even now is still very much wrapped up in the idea of over the top and the high antics or different look of things. And here you guys are with a sound that is, well, let's face facts, it's not what you would expect coming out of California. You guys have a great you guys have a great sound. It's a dark, but occasionally melodic sound, and I was checking out one of the tracks from your self-titled debut album prior to getting you on the phone, and you guys have that Pantera sound, that down south sludgy sound. Is that what you guys were listening to when you guys were getting together as a band, or is that just a direction you chose to stand out compared to what everything that Hollywood is known for in the world of rock and metal?
I think maybe that we weren't trying to do anything specifically. We were just doing what we wanted to do. And I think being that where we were from, I grew up in Canada and spent a lot of time in the mountains and in the woods and stuff like that. And I'm a guitar player at the time, grew up in, small town in Massachusetts. So we wanted to do a mixture of everything that we were listening to at the time and see if we could blend, the mix between, a lot of like the hardcore from that scene from like the Boston area. And then my love for like the southern bands like ASYLUM, Pantera, Down, Buzz Up, and I Hate God. And we wanted to kind of mix those two together to try to see if we could do a more, I don't want to say commercially acceptable, but something not as underground as say I Hate God or those type of bands. We wanted to try to mix everything together and what happened just is what happened. We didn't really like plan for anything, and the sound just kind of came. And then as when he left and we got a new guitar player, we kind of already like established our sound at that point. And it was just that was the formula we were going to stick with. And then, fast forward to this new record, it's just a product of our sound mixed with our new guitar player, Alan, and his writing skills and his guitar playing. And we just, we've been very lucky to be able to stand out and sound different from a lot of the bands in the Hollywood, in California, Southern California in general. So we're pretty lucky with that.
Definitely, man. You guys definitely are onto a great sound, and I get where you're coming from. You didn't want to put together a sound that was only going to gravitate towards one sub-genre of the world of rock and metal. You wanted a sound that would appeal to everyone, but without being a top 40 commercial MTV sound. And I definitely think you guys have nailed it, no question on that. And I mean, obviously, you guys are nailing it because you guys have been out on tour in support of acts like In This Moment, Hollywood Undead, Motionless in White, just some of the big names right now in the world of rock and metal. And before we do talk about the upcoming album, what was it like for you guys, coming off of a self-titled debut album to go out there and be out there with some of these big guns? It was a great experience, and we had we've been friends with a lot of those bands for a long time. I mean, in this moment, we're from the same areas we were when we got started, and they were friends of ours from past bands and all that stuff, and the same with the Hollywood Undead guys. They've been friends of ours for a long time. So it was good in the sense that we knew them, we felt comfortable, and we were already all good friends. But it was also really cool to be thrown into that level of touring right off the bat, and we learned a lot really fast, and we had to be professional and be able to hold our own with these big acts, and it definitely helped us grow really fast. So we're really happy about it, and just to be able to play to a sold out show every night, and the response that their fans were giving. I mean, both In This Moment and Hollywood Undead fans were super, super supportive of us and treated us like they were there to see us. So it was great. I mean, we had no complaints with any of the tours we've been on, and we're just hoping that it's going to continue, with the new record. Do you find that to be a growing trend? Because I've been going to concerts for years now, and I remember going back, and you always got there early for the opening bands, and there seemed to be a time in the last couple of years where people got more into, well, I'm only going in to see the band I paid for, the headline band. But it seems like we're going back towards that appreciation of the entire lineup again. Do you think that that's becoming the trend again, as everyone's becoming hungry for more music and more new music?
I think so, yeah. I mean, it's hard to say that, once you leave California or Los Angeles in general, you get your eyes open to a lot of different things. I mean, in Hollywood, definitely people are going there to see the one band that they're friends with, for the most part. There's a good scene down here, and a lot of people support everybody's band. But most of the time, what I've experienced, it's, because of the pay to play thing and the selling tickets. So bands, their fans are coming at 10 o'clock to watch their band play, and then they leave to go do something else after. So it's it's understandable. But once you get out of California and you start touring, I mean, these people are hungry for music in general, so they assume that if All Hail the Yeti's opening for In This Moment, then All Hail the Yeti's got to be good enough to be able to open for In This Moment. So they're going to show up and check it out. For the most part, it's always, a lot of venues will, they'll build the lineup outside. So, there's sometimes where we're playing to everybody coming in, like walking through the door. But most of the time, they give us an hour before, from the doors open till our set. And then, by that time, it's pretty, 3/4 full. And it's just a good feeling to be able to play in front of a bunch of people that have never seen you. It's nerve-wracking for sure because you've got to win them over, but it's also really good to be able to play for a full house.
Yeah, I totally get that. I mean, the idea of playing to a handful of people versus playing to a crowded room is definitely a bigger vibe. And it's also, encouraging to you guys. I mean, look, as a band, you always want to go out there and put on your best show, whether it's 5 people or 50 people or 500 people. But it's got to be more encouraging for you guys as a band, as an up-and-coming band, to go out there and see that, all right, the room is relatively got a nice amount of people in it. Granted, they all may not be here for us. They all may not know us, but we're going to go out there and we're going to win them over.
Totally.
Cool, man. I mean, that's the way it needs to be. I'm here in the New York area on the East Coast. I've seen both ways. I've been to shows where I've, seen the place packed early, and I've been to shows where I've seen the place empty early, and I stand there scratching my head going, where is everybody when there's a great band on stage? And that's why I wanted to get your vibe on where things were, being that you guys are on that upward tick in the world of rock and metal. Now, with that said, you guys are getting ready to release your second full-length album. Of course, you're re-releasing your self-titled debut. Of course, that is available via Bandcamp. And the new album screams from a black wilderness, getting ready to come out on April 8th of this year, courtesy of Minus Head Records. Pre-orders available for that now via Bandcamp and Amazon. And really, the first thing I've got to ask you guys, ask you in regards to what you guys did with this album is, you went for a concept album, and there are some major hitters in the world of rock and metal that they fear a concept album. And here you guys are, second album in, going for a concept album. Now, I don't know if that's balls or guts or what you want to call it, but what made you guys decide that second album in, you wanted to go concept album?
Honestly, it wasn't something that we had planned, as the songs were coming together in the studio. It just kind of happened, and when we say concept, I mean, it's not necessarily so deep as the concept of some concept albums we've listened to in the past. But there's just a couple of songs that tie into the first record. We have a song on there that is the prequel to After the Great Fire from our self-titled record, and that's kind of where the concept thing came from. So the 2 videos are going to be tied in together, and then there's a sequel to our first single off the self-titled record, The Art of Mourning. There's a single, the sequel to that record, or to that song, is on the new record. So I think that's kind of how it got lumped into being a concept record. I mean, again, nothing we ever do is ever contrived or thought of too much. We know what we want to do as far as make good music and music that we like. And, we don't start out there like, this song has to have a breakdown here, and this song has to have a guitar solo, or this has to have singing here. It just kind of happens, and whatever's right for the song is what we do. But, like I said, we didn't think about it too much, and I guess that takes balls. because a lot of people going into their sophomore record are, you know, they're trying to outdo their first one, and but also keep it to the same. You know, they don't want to stray too far from get lost by their fans. But I don't think we did that. I think we did a more mature, grown-up version of the first record.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of bands often refer to that second album as it's the sophomore curse.
Yep.
You know, there's the old saying that you've got your entire life to write your first album, and then that second album, for whatever reason, always seems to be a struggle, and very few bands have really nailed it on that second album. Usually, for whatever reason, it's good, but not as good as the first, or the third one outshadows it, and it gets lost in the shuffle. And I guess that's why so many bands with that second album try to kind of carbon copy the first album and not take the risk until the third or fourth, once they've gotten that. But you guys obviously, as you said, you guys just sat down and wrote and didn't say, well, let's tell a story. The story just kind of unfolded as you guys wrote it.
Exactly.
Now, I gotta ask you said that, you know, a couple of tracks that are sequels from the self-titled debut album that you guys are re-releasing. Is that part of why the re-release of the first album is being done, or did you guys at some point maybe think about taking just those songs that have follow-ups on this album, maybe adding them in to this album? Was that ever a possibility, or was the idea of a re-release and them being two separate albums always the plan?
You know what? I don't think we ever thought that we were going to put those songs on the new record. The re-release came because when we signed to Minus Head, you know, they really loved the first record, and back when we did that first record, that is when we had originally started talking to them way back then, and you know, and the first label that we signed to just didn't give the record the justice that it deserved in North America, German label, and they kind of piggybacked us on another signing that they did, and we just felt that we didn't. You know, it just didn't see the light of day that it should have, and unfortunately, in my eyes, it's such a good record, and the songs are so good, and it was. I mean, I feel like it was ahead of what a lot of bands were doing at the time, and so Minus Head thought, like, well, let's put it back out and add some demos to it, just to kind of give the collectors or like the people that like collecting stuff something else to listen to, and it will help with the release of the new record, and I'm really happy about it. I feel like it was a great idea, just because. We just didn't, like I said, it just didn't get a fair shot in North America that it should have. And, you can't change the past, and that's fine, but you can change the future. So that's what we're doing.
You bring up that the first album wasn't given a fair shot here in the States, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say that you've had the opportunity to tour both outside the States and within the States. Do you think the fact that it was a German label and it wasn't given a chance here in the States, is that part of the States still being behind on rock and metal, and that rock and metal is still somewhat looked down on, even though when you look at last night's Grammys, I think it's safe to say the tribute to David Bowie by Lady Gaga, Bowie being a rock artist, and the Hollywood Vampires tribute to Lemmy seem to be the big talking points of the night. Do you feel that maybe part of that tide is turning?
I mean, I would love to say that it is. As any fan of heavy music, and rock and roll, no matter how heavy it is, it was dying off there for a while, and it was hard to even watch, and and a lot of these other artists come in, and then the pop music and the hip hop and R&B and all that stuff. It's while that is music and it is there is a call for it. It just doesn't have the same effect that rock and roll does, and rock and roll has for so many years. And anyone that's a rock and roll fan or appreciates it understands what I mean. And it's unfortunate to watch that happen, but for so many years, the MTV Awards and the Grammys and all these, award shows and radio stations and basically just stopped covering any type of rock and roll or heavier music. It's unfortunate, but I think now, with the access of the internet, and as much as everyone talked about the internet and downloading and all these torrent sites and being the demise of the music scene, I think it's really as an artist, and I'm not comparing myself to Molly Crue or Lemmy or Justin Bieber for that matter, but for me, for our band, for All Hail the Yeti, having sites like Spotify and those type of listening sites helps, because people can access our music so much easier that would never have even heard of us before, with the related artists and being able to just go, I'm going to listen to this now, this looks cool. And I found so many bands that I love now that I would never have even had a chance to hear of, because at this day and age, who buys magazines even anymore, So I think that I feel like it's making a turnaround, and it's a good thing. It's a good feeling, and it's kind of just up to us, these younger bands, to keep at it, I think, and push harder to shove it down people's faces properly.
I agree completely. I mean, I'm not one for Spotify. I'm of the old school. I do. Don't get me wrong. I find bands over the internet via Facebook, via Twitter. And that's how I find them. I have issues with Spotify in that they don't properly give you guys, the artists, the appropriate royalty rates that you guys deserve, and as a result, it's not to get political, but it's starting to affect internet radio and what I do and other individuals like I do. But what I'm noticing too, from bands like All Hail the Yeti and others, in this moment, Motionless in White, is that you guys not only are using Spotify to be found, but you guys are also making a point to let people know where you can buy the album.
Absolutely.
We were going towards a trend where everyone was giving a link to stream it for free.
Mm-hmm.
Hear the album for free here. But hear this song for free here. But you guys are reminding people, again, that if you like it, you should buy it.
Absolutely. And I understand, like, a lot of people don't, listen to CDs anymore. I don't listen to CDs anymore. I haven't put a CD player or a CD into a CD player, and I couldn't even tell you how long. But I buy vinyl every time I go see a band play. I'll buy the vinyl record because I appreciate vinyl, and that's what I grew up listening to, and I know that money goes in their pockets. And but I'll still stream it, But I know that I paid for their vinyl, and I paid money. I'll buy a T-shirt because I know what it takes, and I know what these bands need. Bands at our level and a little bit higher, and even lower. It's just you need to support in the sense that nobody's making money band wise off album sales anymore. You got to buy merch, you got to buy T-shirts, you got to go to the show, and it's the way that we're surviving. And as much as people say that, like, well, it must be great being in a band, and it is, but it's hard work, and it's a full-time job that doesn't pay the money of a part-time job,
Mm-hmm.
So I think that people just need to be aware of that and understand that, and it's it's a lot of work, and I've invested my entire life into this. I've been doing this since I was 17 years old, and most of the people that are anywhere in this business have been. I mean, there's always a lucky break and a few that who type of thing, but this business and this genre of music and this industry, it's about hard work and perseverance, and and that's the only way you're going to get any respect.
Exactly. I mean, and I think that goes back to the point you were bringing up earlier in regards to rock and metal compared to the other genres. I've always said good tunes are good tunes. Whatever you enjoy, you gotta respect what people enjoy and listen to. But bringing back to what you were saying, there is something about the rock and metal community about how we're fighters, will speak out for what we believe in, and
Absolutely.
work twice as hard
Absolutely.
for everything.
I mean, if you can just go as simple as go to a metal festival and look at the fans, and go to a pop concert and look at the fans. I mean, you'd have to be crazy to say that pop fans are more diehard than rock and roll and metal fans. Because I mean, you look at what these kids are doing to themselves just in front of the crowd, in the mosh pit, and I mean, they're supporting the thing they love by damn near injuring themselves in the pit and getting covered in dirt and sweat and clothing ripped and thirsty and in the hot sun all day just to be able to see their favorite band play for 35 minutes or 25 minutes. It's unbelievable to watch, and that's at the end of the day, that's why we do it.
Exactly. I know what you mean. It's about making the memories that last in your mind, not about making the memories that will get thousands of views on YouTube over the years.
Exactly.
I wanted to circle back for a second before I let you go to Screams from a Black Wilderness, because there is a track I understand means a lot to Brock Lindell of 36 Crazy Fists.
Uh-huh.
You and Brock have a track that you do together on an album called Mr. Murder.
Yep.
And I understand there's some personal insight behind that one.
Yeah, that song is written about one of my best who passed away back in October. And he'd been battling with health problems for a better part of his whole life. And in October, he just kind of decided that he was tired of fighting. So that was originally supposed to be just more of a tribute song to him and the things he's been through. And it was written back in May when we were doing pre-production for the record and stuff, and in July or whatever, right before we started tracking. So he hadn't passed away at that point, so it was going to be a more of like a tribute to him rather than a memorial. And then Brock was down in LA staying with me to do his tracks on the song, to do his vocals for the song. And we got the call that night or that day that my friend had passed away. So it went from being a tribute to a memorial and a tribute. And so it was really good to have Brock on it. Brock and him were good friends. They knew each other very well. He was the drummer from my very first band. And, we did some tours with 36 Crazy Fists way back in the early 2000s and stuff. So, it was a pretty rough time, but it was also really cool for me to be able to memorialize him, in song and doing what I do best. And him and I, we had a special connection with music, and some of his lyrics even actually got on the song that he had sent me a few days before. The part that Brock sings in the middle of the song were my friend's lyrics. So it was, as sad as it is, it's a really, uplifting, happy song, to be honest, about, who he was and how many people he touched and the type of person that he strived to be. So, yeah, it's a tough one.
I can imagine, and the good thing, really formative is to take away from it, is that now you're going to give him eternal life in the form of music, because I've always said people come and go, but the music will live on, and the people
Absolutely.
that songs are about live on, and you've now given him that gift of eternal life and given him the chance to touch more individuals than he would have ever realized that he will be touching. So I urge everyone to keep an eye out for that one. Any possibility? I mean, I know it's real early in the process for you guys. Have you thought about taking that and turning that into a video to even get it out there even more?
We have actually, yeah. There's been talks of that, and there's been talks of another song that I don't want to give away too much information. But yeah, that you'll definitely hear more from that song for sure.
Absolutely awesome, man. Well, everyone get ready because All Hail the Yeti are coming, and they are coming with a vengeance. Screams from a Black Wilderness coming out on April 8th, courtesy of Minus Head Records. Pre-order it now via Bandcamp or Amazon. And Karen, I want to thank you for joining me here inside the Asylum. And I'm going to play the one track that I have at the moment from you guys, After the Great Fire. And
awesome.
From what I understand, that's what leads into your new album. So just give everyone a little backstory on this before I play it, so everyone has an idea of what's to come on this album.
For sure. After the Great Fire is part two of a two-part saga, if you will. It's based upon the After the Great Fire is about an orphanage or institution per se, where the nuns and the children were killed, and they become ghosts, and they're haunting the building, and the building becomes basically an entity of its own, and it's kind of taken over these people. And I can't really delve too much into it because the prequel, the song that's coming out on the new record, is just the beginning of the story. So this is basically after everything happens, and now that these people are dead and gone, they're back haunting the building of where they were before.
Very cool, man. Everyone, get ready for All Hail the Yeti. The new album, Screams from a Black Wilderness, coming in April. Right now, check this out. All Hail the Yeti with After the Great Fire.